Nature doesn't issue a warning before it levels a city block. When the dust settles, the modern conveniences we rely on, power grids, cell towers, even ambulance routes, are gone. In their place is a vacuum of chaos. Surviving a catastrophe of this scale rarely comes down to sheer luck. It depends entirely on the rigorous, pre-planned medical response built long before the ground started shaking. That means the most vital work of a disaster nurse happens in the quiet moments before a crisis ever hits. They construct the invisible architecture that keeps a community alive. If you look at the emergency preparedness guidelines for any major hospital, the very first step is creating a rock-solid logistical plan detailing exactly who does what when disaster strikes. But a hospital plan isn't enough on its own. Nurses take this knowledge directly into the community, teaching everyday citizens how to perform basic first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, so bystanders can stabilize victims before professional help arrives. These protocols are useless without the physical tools to execute them. Medical teams must build massive physical reserves of life-saving equipment well ahead of time. That means safely storing thousands of extra medical kits, essential medicines, pressurized oxygen cylinders, and pallets of clean, bottled water. To make sure all of this actually works under pressure, nurses run full-scale mock drills alongside local police and fire departments, stress testing their speed and coordination against fake disaster scenarios. This relentless cycle of planning, hoarding, and practicing guarantees that when a real threat finally materializes, panic is immediately replaced by protocol. When the preparation phase ends and the impact stage begins, medical teams adapt instantly. A disaster is not a generic event. Each inflicts specific physiological traumas. Take an earthquake. The immediate medical threat comes entirely from collapsing infrastructure. Nurses treat severe crushing injuries, complex bone fractures, and massive head trauma. A severe flood presents a completely different matrix of injuries. Instead of blunt force trauma, teams are pulling people out of cold, surging water, treating widespread cases of drowning and hypothermia, where a victim's core body temperature drops to dangerously cold levels. And the danger doesn't recede with the water. As sewage mixes with drinking sources, nurses brace for a secondary wave, severe waterborne diseases like cholera and typhoid that can sweep through the surviving population. To mount an effective response, emergency nurses must instantly read the hazardous environment around them to predict exactly how the human body will be broken next. When victims outnumber doctors, hospitals use triage to categorize patients by severity. Life-threatening issues get a red immediate tag for instant surgery. Stable injuries wait with a yellow delayed tag. Minor injuries get green. The black tag marks those with non-survivable injuries. While the sorting happens, nurses execute direct interventions, flushing out dirty wounds, stabilizing shattered bones with makeshift splints, and managing IV fluids to prevent shock. They execute this while coordinating tightly with police and military forces handling mass rescues, and NGOs passing out clean clothes and drinking water. Triage imposes a cold, mathematical order onto an intensely emotional chaos, rationing limited resources to ensure the maximum possible number of lives are saved. Eventually, the earth stops shaking and the fires burn out. But entering the post-disaster stage doesn't mean the medical crisis is over. With neighborhoods destroyed, massive temporary relief camps are rapidly set up to provide beds and shelter for thousands of newly homeless victims. Here, the nurse's primary role shifts from trauma care to public health management. They monitor the camp's packed population, ensuring communal food and water supplies remain uncontaminated. Beyond the physical injuries, there is a profound psychological toll. Uprooted and grieving people require medical staff to provide immediate emotional support to families in shock. This often evolves into long-term mental health counseling, helping survivors process the sheer trauma of the event and the sudden loss of the lives they used to know. True post-disaster recovery requires restoring a community's enduring mental resilience right alongside its physical health. From drafting protocols in quiet offices, to rationing care in chaotic streets, to fighting disease in relief camps, disaster nurses are community strategists and triage commanders. They act as the critical linchpin that holds society together, when the world falls apart.